Quite a bit more happening in the markets. And of course, a lot of what we're seeing could indicate that we are maybe exiting a recession, or maybe the recession never happened. Today, we're going to break all this down for you. There's a lot happening not only in the markets, but also how this may play out for crypto. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. Get into a couple of things here. Just as a reminder, if you guys would like to kind of front run these opportunities, one of the tools we use, of course, is our Crypto Power Index. One of the things you can do is jump over there, join. It's very simple to use, and basically it gives you a full lineup of the top cryptocurrencies that we currently index. We're doing, I think, 43 right now on the token list. We'd get into Metaverse gaming. You can also track retail investment sentiment. And it's a very unique measuring tool for how you guys can potentially look at this as a tool to get in and start to analyze projects a little bit deeper. We provide you, of course, the CPI dashboards, which you'll get a chance to see today. We'll show you some stuff there. Technical analysis, we drop those into our mastermind groups and also into our CPI memberships. And video analysis, that's usually of stuff that I do that is separate from what our YouTube channel is. So make sure and check it out. Just grab the link down below. I want to get into this first story today. And this one is cryptocurrencies navigating July's economic waves. Is there a soft landing scenario kind of playing out? And I think this is the question that everybody is asking right now. And a lot of people have said, okay, maybe there is an adjustment here. And even to a certain extent, when you look at, even my opinion, when we have kind of been analyzing these things over the past 2 years, is this year was a very significant one. This summer, in fact, was the one that we were most concerned with. And now with what is going to be a little bit more of a flat position on the interest rate side of things, the question is, will we continue to see CPI and inflation drop? A couple of things from here. July cryptocurrency trends seem to mirror the larger economic sentiment surrounding the prospects of a soft landing in the economy. If incoming economic data continue to support the soft landing thesis, year-to-date rebound in major token valuations could continue. And you got to remember that Bitcoin is up almost double since the beginning of the year. The Fed is basically saying no longer predicting a recession in their forecast. Now, I don't really like that when the Fed gets in here and starts predicting things, because the last time that happened was during the 2008 recession, and it wasn't necessarily an on-point prediction. But the point is that there's many people that are looking into that. And then you have to look at the earnings and what has been happening in the traditional securities side. I want to jump over to Squawk Box real quick and play this clip for you. Listen in.
Thanks. We want to get over to Dom Chu. He's got a look at this morning's pre-market movers. And Dom, you're going to run us through some of the earnings?
Yes, Becky, the two big ones, right? It's Apple and Amazon moving in opposite directions. So it's the two most consequential earnings reports of the season, arguably, both in mega cap tech/tech related. So we'll start with Apple. That stock is down by almost 2% right now. So it's off the pre-market or after market lows, if you will. Those shares now down 2%. 250,000 shares of volume. The iPhone and app services giant actually reported better than expected quarterly profits and revenues. But the revenues did slide for the third straight quarter, and the company did suggest that the trend could continue into this most current period, driven by slowing sales of hardware products like the all-important iPhone, also iPads, Mac computers, and others. But in a brighter spot, Apple's services business accelerated growth from the prior quarter. But on balance, we're talking about a down 2% move given all of that. But the big influence on any outperformance that we see that Andrew pointed out in the S&P or the NASDAQ early on is going to be Amazon, which is up 9% right now, nearly 1 million shares of pre-market volume. The e-commerce and cloud computing giant reported profits and revenues that both topped estimates. For profits, it was the biggest beat since the fourth quarter of 2020, and it was driven in large part by cost-cutting efforts as well as better than expected growth at Amazon Web Services. Amazon also gave a more bullish current quarter revenue forecast as well. So Amazon up 9%. And we're going to end with a massive.
All right. So as you can see, Amazon and Apple kind of going in different directions here. I was tweeting this out the other night here, but you can kind of see here, right here, Amazon reported operating income $77.7 billion. This is 62% above expectations. This is insane for them to be able to perform this way. And did they just cancel the recession? I mean, those are the kind of performance numbers, but at the same time, there's been some adjustment there in what Amazon has been doing from a fiscal standpoint that has made some of these performances be pretty significant. I was tweeting this out, just 2 notes from earnings. Amazon seems to think the bull run has begun, and Apple is looking for a new way to screw up the iPhone with declining sales. This also shows the tail of the tape when it comes to pro NFT and not pro NFT. And of course, that is Apple being against NFTs and really the evolution of the creator economy and what that might look like in gaming and all those kind of things. And then you've got Amazon, on the other hand, that is starting to look at this as a viable opportunity, especially if you look at not only the gaming side of things for Amazon, but also the NFT marketplace that is brewing for Amazon. So I have a feeling that they are in position. And of course, Apple is in a position now where they're fighting against a lot more new devices, and they've already got this pressure coming at them from the creator economy, which is really the lifeblood of their services business, which is the only thing that was up. So there's a lot there to kind of break down in terms of the future. Amazon is giving free NFTs to its Prime subscribers, 200 million Prime subscribers. That's 4,000 times the number of existing NFT holders of today. Amazon by themselves could absolutely reformat the entire NFT ecosystem and some of the platforms that are going to be utilizing this. Of course, Amazon and Polygon tying into this for sure. So this is big news, and it's also good news, I think, in general for the markets. Now, we still have a lot of things that are, we're facing that is still not played out yet. There are many things, but we are further into this bear cycle than we've ever been before. And if you look at all of the indicators that have pressured the market, from the macro side of things to the legislative front to what's happening in the Ukraine, all of these things have yet to really impact Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a lot of these projects outside of the normal reaction that we see in these markets in the bear cycle. Further into this, remember that Amazon bought Twitch for $970 million. This was all the way back in 2014. So they already have a full ecosystem where gaming can live, and they have the potential here to potentially really break open into the Web3 space with NFT integrations, which I think is really going to be one of the hidden secrets of where Amazon is going. Other news here, of course, Watcher Guru just done, JP Morgan says they no longer expect a recession. Gosh, I hate it when the big guy starts saying that, because it does. I always think this is the exact opposite. But the point is that there are a lot of analysts that are starting to point in this direction. I was just listening to Darius Dale the other day on the Pomp Show, and Darius, who comes on our show, I think we have him coming on soon. He was even mentioning this, is that some of the indicators that have been playing out are starting to open up. Liquidity is coming back into the market. We're starting to see some moves. Question is do we get enough macro at this very end tail to cause any major issues? That's really where we are right now. I'd love to get you guys' feedback. Make sure and smash the like button, and then drop a comment down below. It's one of the ways that you can help the channel. It's also another way that you guys can get involved over here on our show. Make sure and subscribe if you're not jumped into us. Just click that little subscribe button there. See that little bell right there I'm kind of hovering over? That's what you want to do so you can get notified when we do live streams. Also, when we do those, we, of course, like to thank our sponsors, and that's Chart Prime. You can elevate your game. We use Chart Prime in combination with our CPI tool, the Power Index, and it gives us a trading platform and a sentiment platform, and that's how we kind of balance those out. But if you guys want to check out some of the cool playlists over there, one of the ones that I think are pretty interesting is our full rundown on all the legislative side of it. So definitely check that out. Just jump over to our channel. All right, Revolut, of course, halting their U.S. crypto services next month. This is probably a little bit of the bad news, but I think this is also a scenario where Revolut has a very small percentage of U.S. customers in crypto. It's not hurting them, and it's definitely not hurting U.S. customers, but it does give you even more power into what Coinbase, Robinhood, and others are doing here in the U.S., because I think they are the ones who have pretty much the wherewithal to be able to fight what's happening with the SEC. And most likely, that will be the case coming in. I expect Revolut to be back in the markets, and they even said it, that they were coming back soon. Bitcoin stays stagnant ahead of pending SEC spot ETF decisions. Again, this will be interesting if the ETF decisions come through, because if we get a Bitcoin ETF, it's going to do two things. One, you're going to get continued faith in the markets of crypto in general. It's going to open up crypto to the masses, which will be good for Bitcoin, but it will also be good for crypto in general. Blockchain, Ethereum will win on this. So a couple of points here I want to hit on, and it I think it is in alignment. But anyway, analysts are saying stagnation will persist in the short term, regardless of pending decisions due to the Securities and Exchange Commission about the application for spot ETFs. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think if a spot came in, we would see a pretty significant move on Bitcoin, and in general, especially a Bitcoin spot ETF. But the more important thing would be, what would that cycle look like in terms of new money coming in? Because that is really the definition of how a market is going to move quickly and upwardly. In what we like to see is these big up and to the right hooks that kind of play out within that. Other things within the article, the volume curve does not show the market is positioning itself for a short-term ETF decision, and they see a lot of kind of the steepness of the curve longer term, implying that some expectations for volatility in the longer run, but not in August. So I would agree with that. I think that is a scenario. It depends on when that would play out. I still think it's going to be longer before an ETF actually does happen, but if it does, timing is real critical here, because when the ETF does get approved, I think a lot of people are now thinking that is going to happen. Even if Gensler does move past this initial date and pushes into as late as the first of the year, it's very possible that timing on this, remember the Fed's got a couple of CPI drops, we have a couple of CPI drops, we have another FOMC, all of those are going to give us some indicators that could push the Fed into cooling rate hikes, or maybe not. You've got the Fed, of course, looking at what's happening with Amazon and some of these other stocks, and they might be saying, hey, listen, we need to continue to cool down here just a little bit at the end. We'll see. Coinbase citing Ripple's case in motion to dismiss. We talked a little bit about this on the show earlier. And one of the things about this is that the fact that Coinbase is going in, and this is kind of commonality in a lot of these federal cases, but because if you have any kind of inkling to win, and especially with the Ripple case playing into this, and if you guys are brand new to crypto and you don't understand what that means, in short, Ripple, which is one of the long-standing players within the ecosystem of blockchain, was sued by the SEC, and then essentially a court ruling saying that their token, XRP, in fact, was not a security. It was done by a federal court, Judge Torres. Google that. You guys will get caught up on that pretty quickly. But the point is it made a lot of influence in the marketplace of these tokens not being securities, which has been what the SEC has been saying along all the time. So it is a big issue, and I think there's a big opportunity here to kind of play forward for the future. Here was Paul Graywall. He's the attorney for Coinbase, and basically just say, hey, we're going to ask the court, and we did it, to dismiss the SEC case. Our core argument is simple. We do not offer investment contracts, as that term has been constructed by decades of Supreme Court and other binding precedents. And you go into that filing, it goes into a lot of brief, and it gets back into the era of even the orange groves, meaning that almost any product could be considered a security if you looked at certain aspects of these. And there's been a lot of precedents that's already overturned that. And now you have the case with Judge Torres. All right, James Seifert right here, a new note about today, officially starting our Ethereum futures ETF approval odds. This is Eric Balkunas and James. They kind of work together over at Bloomberg. Now they're at 75%. Now, when James was on our show, he was very, now it was a spot ETF that I asked him about. This is a futures. But he was very, very anti, saying not a chance on Ethereum. All of that has shifted in a matter of really about 2 weeks. So you can see there's a lot of heat coming from a political aspect, because remember, Gensler is still playing a political, ping pong match, it seems. And now we're starting to see these light wins, and you still have BlackRock playing into this in a very big way. And BlackRock is a behemoth. Now, I don't necessarily love the idea of BlackRock being involved in this, but the likelihood of major investment coming into the space is very clear now. And of course, ETH is now playing into this as well. So very cool stuff. And remember, we do have a futures fund already in Bitcoin. Another thing that plays into the positive nature of where the market is going right now is this statement right here from Bank of America, heralding Avalanche as the future of tokenization. We've had John Wu on from Avalanche and Avalabs on our show a couple of times. Here was AVAX talking a little bit here. We're on the verge of an infrastructure evolution that may reshape how value is transferred, settled, and stored across every industry. This is something that we've talked about, of global tokenization, anything you can imagine being tokenized and moved into these kind of things. Avalanche has a very unique aspect of technology, and they've been on this kind of this showcase of trying to merge from Web 2 to Web 3, kind of that 2.5 range that we're dealing with a lot today in technology. And Avalanche is on the front end of this. So kudos to them. We probably should get John back on the show talking a little bit more about what's happening out there. Don't forget they had that deal with being able to spin up basically a node on Amazon with Avalanche very easily. And again, their gaming efforts have been pretty active as well. All right, so one more thing I want to jump into the article on is a TradFi giant recognizes other chains like Solana and Ethereum also, again, for their capabilities. So believe that Avalanche was far more innovative and robust in this report. The fact that they are on top of Solana as scalable, which is a big one, but it wasn't decentralized and secure. It wasn't as decentralized and as secure in their report. Ethereum decentralized and secure, but not scalable. So you see the way out that they're dealing with. We did a video with Avalanche, and listen into this portion of the clip right here. Let's play this for you.
I think what both of those guys are doing is great. They're expanding the pie and bringing a lot of new users. But in the case of Immutable, it's one single chain. In the case of Polygon, with their supernets, which are a play on subnets, they're only EVM based and they're only permissioned, and there's no interoperability. What Avalanche allows with subnets is, again, a custom environment, right? You can choose whichever virtual machine might be best suited to fit your game. You can choose whatever token standard you want. You can choose any of these things. And then in the future, you can connect potentially to other games, to other sources of liquidity, to other partners, and really have a network of blockchains rather than just you have.
All right, so you kind of see the point there is just the expansion and capability of what Avalanche is really underway on. And I think this is one of the key things, one of the reasons that we do like Avalanche in kind of our long-term position, but we also like Solana and Ethereum as well. So give me your favorite token. Where do you think these ecosystems are boiling up for? Now, one last thing to kind of think about as you get into the weekend is this right here. Crypto illegal in China, but Binance does 90 billion of business there. So currently generating 90 billion in trades. This was in May, and trades occurred despite the official ban on crypto. So that's a pretty big statement, because when you look at some of the details of this is just kind of showing some of the breakouts here, but the notion of China actively participating in crypto markets seems paradoxical given its seemingly rigid stance on cryptocurrency trading. Now, don't forget though, Hong Kong, though not truly China, but China, has already moved very progressively toward approval of so much in what's happening in Web3, blockchain, and crypto in general. Internal data viewed by the Wall Street Journal indicates that the substantial portion of Binance's trading volume now is coming from China. The resurgence of China's involvement in crypto has broader implications for the global economy, particularly against the backdrop of the U.S. debt downgrade by Fitch, which we just went from a AAA to a AA+. It contends highly that indebted economies, including the United States, might be compelled to become the ultimate buyers of their own government debt. This would be bad, because one of the things that has already happened, the Bank of Japan recently, unscheduled bond purchase serves as a good example of how this could occur. And what that simply means is when you're in debt, you've got to sell that debt, and you need those AAA rated credit ratings to be able to kind of fend off the people who could buy that debt. And if you can't find buyers, that's a problem, because now you have to buy your own debt. That's a problem because it creates, hyperinflation, all those kind of things play out into it. So major players like China and Japan navigate this economic challenge, and the crypto world appears to be poised to capitalize on all of this. This gets back to why we do this channel in the first place, and that is the evolution of sovereign entities. And what that simply means is you get to be your own bank. You get to be able to fight inflation now with an appreciating asset or assets, whether it's digital assets in the ETH ecosystem, it's Bitcoin. There's a lot of opportunity out there, as opposed to having us kind of sit on the sidelines and listen to all this. Just don't forget, Hong Kong came in and said, let's do this right here. Lawmaker to explore digital asset link with the mainland China. This was the lawmaker over there, said hopes there will be discussions exploring the possibility of connecting virtual asset platforms in Hong Kong, which is where we're going to see a lot of progressive moves, with digital asset exchanges in Shanghai. Another big reason that the Chinese could be on a very interesting position right now playing into this. And remember, a lot of focus is moving over to China right now. We've started to subsidize Taiwan with all sorts of things, and we seem to be moving away from Eastern Europe and moving into the realm of what's happening in China. So just keep ahead of all of that. One of the things, of course, if you guys are doing any kind of trading, one of the things you can do is jump out there and look at the CPI just to give you kind of a taste of how these are done. This is our Solana chart. And I'm kind of going up and down here. You can kind of see some of the charts. These are live charts that come in on each of the tokens. And you can kind of see the movement here on Solana. A little bit of interesting things happening right now with Solana is, and the way that our two sentiment tracks work, let me zoom in on that a little bit. Remember, the white line is the top. Maybe this is the first time you guys have ever seen this. White line is kind of the overall market sentiment. Then the red line is what we call amplification, and the purple line is sentiment. And the way they track is, in many cases, one is general sentiment, the other is what we call intent for an action. So that could be a purchase, a sale, etc. Somebody's going to do something with Solana. Anytime we see those starting to converge, get very close together, it usually means interesting things are about to happen, mostly for a positive. If you look at Solana currently, it's been on this move right here, which has been tracked with our sentiment. And right now we have this little bit of downturn and this little curve right here over these past few days showing a little bit more activity on Solana right now at 22. So a little bit of upside right here down from around 22.60 to 22.98. So this will be interesting, but these are the ways that we start to look at this. And as I said, there's many things you can look at, whether it's TradingView and you look at volume, if you're doing TA, or if you're looking at something like this on sentiment. It's just one of the other tools out there that you guys can get into. All right, so that's pretty much it. If you guys are not in the Diamond Circle, make sure and get in. It's a very easy thing to do. It's also free. It's where you get additional podcasts, additional research. We do additional TA analysis over there. You can get into our mastermind group, which is where you have direct access to me through our Slack channels. There's a lot of cool stuff in there, so just chart by using the link down below. If you want to catch me out there on Twitter, it's @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.